everyone, my name is Catherine, and in today's video, we're going to decorate a 7.5-foot natural-shaped artificial tree in shades of copper and gold at my parents' house. Luckily for me, they've already set it up. Even though it's a pre-lit tree, I also had them add twinkle lights to the tree, which not only adds more light, but really gives a designer look. I also had them run the lights towards the inside of the tree, so it has a beautiful glow. But you almost don't know why. I'll link to my favorite set down in the description box. And luckily for my parents, this tree is one of those self-shaping trees, so it's not too hard to set up. To get started, I'm going to take this coppery scarf and run it on the inside of the tree, starting at the bottom and working my way around the tree up to the top. I'm using 4 scarves total at 5 yards apiece. As I'm adding each scarf, I'm actually weaving it in and out as I go around, keeping mostly towards the inside of the tree. This will serve as a filler to help block the eye and take up some space made by the less uniform shape of the tree. Next up, I'm going to work on the tree topper. I'm going to construct it using several stems and picks, starting with these icy-covered branches. These will serve as the tallest and most visually bulky item of the topper, providing the overall structure. I'll also use these stems with this sort of prickly pot on them. This stem will give me a different texture, color, and even a bit of movement to the topper. I'll keep all of these things in place with just good old-fashioned pipe cleaners. I love to use pipe cleaners to fasten things in my decorations because they come in a variety of colors and are inexpensive. They're also very flexible and don't require pliers or gloves to work with them. I'll use 4 of these beautiful bows in this leopard print ribbon to rim the bottom of the tree topper. And once again, I'm going to attach with my pipe cleaners, which is what I used to tie off the bows when I created them. I do have a tutorial on how to make your own bows, which I'll link in the description box. To add the stems, I'll basically run them down the center pole of the tree, which will help set the shape and give me something sturdy with which to secure them. Once I have a couple stems in place, I will tie off with pipe cleaners, not tying too tightly, but essentially creating a loop that I can then add additional stems into, as you see here in this up-close shot. I don't have to tie these stems into place as they are secured by the pipe cleaner I used earlier. I will mostly add stems by type, doing the icy branches first before moving to the prickly pots. Note, I will save a few smaller branches out of the icy stems to come back and fill in here in just a moment. But now I'm going to place the bows around the base of the topper, both in front and in back. Now that I have the overall structure and size of the topper, I'm going to add some smaller picks and stems, including the smaller icy branches and some new textures like this coppery money plant stem and some other picks that I'll also use in the body of the tree later. I've picked out all of these items to give me a good combination of size, color, and texture for the tree topper. Once again, I'm adding these picks into the structure of the topper and pipe cleaners that I created earlier. I don't really have to secure them because everything else will pretty well hold them in place. I'll even add some of the picks into the bows themselves just to make it a little more interesting and cohesive. And this is the result you get. The tree topper is definitely the step that takes me the longest, but is so important to get right because it really defines the shape and tone for the rest of the tree. And this one gives the very wild, organic shape that works so well with the more natural shape of the tree itself. The next step is going to be to add the ribbon throughout the tree. I've got 2 different ribbons I'll use, sometimes layered as a pair and sometimes individually. I've pre-cut these into various lengths, anywhere from say about 3 feet to 6 feet, each starting with a simple loop or 2 at the top. I've also cut some shorter ribbon sections that I've tied off into 2-loop bows that I'll add in some strategic places. I'm going to start by taking these longer ribbons and run them down throughout the tree, weaving in a little bit of a zigzag pattern. Every 18 to 24 inches or so, I'll tie off to the tree by twisting a couple of the branches around the ribbon before weaving in a different direction. Then I can add the 2-loop bows to where I tied off. I'll keep doing this around the tree, making sure to alternate where I start the ribbon and the direction I go. Here you can see how I tie off to the tree and add the 2-loop bows. It's really pretty easy, but gives a very high impact look to the tree. If you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful, I would love it if you would go ahead and click the like button, or maybe even subscribe if you're not already. Also, leave me a comment and let me know from where you're watching. I love to find out where all my audience is from. It's amazing what a global audience I have, and it's so fun to interact with people from all over the world. While I live in Oklahoma, I'm decorating this tree in Texas where my parents are. Once I've finished the ribbon, I'm now going to move on to some additional filler, including these picks that I used in the tree topper. I always think it looks good to incorporate some of the same items throughout the body of the tree that was used in the tree topper. It looks a little more thoughtful and cohesive that way. And similar to the tree topper, I'm going to add one type at a time throughout the tree before I go to the next type. Because of the interesting shape of this tree, I'm going to run the wire of the pick down the main stem of each branch so the foliage stays mostly at the tip of the branch. Now we're going to move on to ornaments, and the first type are filler ornaments. To start, I'm going to use these larger balls in some different colors, shapes, and finishes. I'll work my way in a bit of a zigzag pattern where I go at one height in the first spot, then a little bit lower for the second, then up again a little higher for the third, working my way throughout the tree. I'll put these more towards the inside of the tree, often nestling within the branches to hold them in place. Now I'll move on to some smaller filler ornaments, once again balls in varying shapes, colors, and finishes. And again, I'll hang more on the inside of the tree, but this time using hangers to secure. I want to make sure they hang as close to the branch as possible, so you'll see when I hang it, I'm actually pinching the hanger around the branch until the ball hangs right underneath it. Because of the size of this tree, I actually have quite a few filler balls that I'll use. Next, I'll move on to more decorative ornaments. The first type are ones where I have multiples of the same ones, so I'll want to add them one type at a time to make sure I intersperse throughout the tree. But I'll want to hang these more on the branch tips because they're prettier and more interesting to look at. Once again, I'll pinch the metal hangers so the ornaments hang right under the branch. When I have ornaments with built-in hangers or strings, I want to make sure they hang as close to the branch as possible, so you'll see when I hang it, I'm actually taking that excess length from the string and wrapping around the branch tip until the ornament hangs right underneath the branch. I do have some more specialty one-of-a-kind ornaments I'll add next, so I'm remembering to leave spaces for these next specialty ornaments. Of course, I can always move things around if needed. And speaking of, it's now time to add the specialty ornaments. The theme for this tree is crosses, so I have a lot of different types and sizes of crosses that I'll add. But they're not all strictly ornaments. I like to get creative when thinking about how to decorate a tree, which means I sometimes use items that aren't strictly ornaments, like these oversized crosses, which are actually meant to hang on the wall. But they're perfect for this tree, especially lower down where I've got some bigger spaces to fill created by what I consider to be the shelves created by the natural shape of this tree. But I'll still incorporate some of the smaller wall crosses up higher on the tree as well. To secure these to the tree, I'll use the built-in hook and then add some floral wire, which I'll use to then wire onto the branches to make sure they don't fall. I haven't talked a lot about the shape of this tree, but it really is different than your typical artificial tree, where they're much more uniform and taper in a very kind of typical cone-shaped way. Instead, this tree has both longer and shorter branches throughout, and it's very wide for its height. But that gives it the opportunity to really showcase specialty ornaments at the ends of the branches and use some of these oversized items that might be hard to fit in to a normal artificial tree. And just when you think I couldn't add any more ornaments, I'll add a few more. Alright, we have finished with the tree, but now we need to work on the underneath. That starts with a coordinating tree skirt, but it doesn't stop there. I'm also going to add some other items that will go under or around the tree, including the sleigh, which I filled with, what else, but more balls and crosses. I've also saved some of the larger crosses to add under and around the tree. This is a great way to just make sure the tree isn't as bare. And here's the final result. I think this tree is such a unique tree, both with the shape of the tree and the opportunities that gives when decorating, as well as the very interesting colors that aren't necessarily traditional, but work perfectly in my parents' log home. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Once again, if you did, it would be great if you could give me a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe if you're new to my channel. My name is Catherine for those of you that are new, and I absolutely love decorating for the holidays. And I'll have a lot more videos coming up for the Christmas season soon. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very merry holiday season, and until next time, bye.